Yeah, flip that porch light on. Time to see what kind of mess we're dealing with today. As I'm sitting in my rocking chair, calling out the bullshit, watching all these headlines, acting like a fool again. Southborn, truly torn, fed up and fired. If the country's lost its mind, baby, I'm getting inspired. I'm the porch light patriot, shining where it hurts, dragging all the nonsense out, the shadows and the dirt. If the world's gone sideways, I'm saying it loud. Bless your heart, fix your mess, and make your mama proud. Pull up a chair, y'all.
Ever feel like you're the only one noticing when the rules get rewritten behind your back? Well, tonight, I'm not just switching on the porch light, y'all. I am setting this whole damn yard ablaze with a 5-alarm bonfire. Welcome to the Porch Light Patriot, where we drag political messes out in the open, put them bad boys on display so anybody just moseying on down the street can take a gander at this mess. I'm Chicken Pimp, and if you're tired of being treated like you don't notice, you're in the right place. Now, here's what's at stake, y'all. Gerrymandering and the sneaky technical art of redistricting. Now, let's think of gerrymandering like a magician's sleight of hand. And redistricting, let's think of that as the way they shuffle the deck. We'll break down what you voted for in 2020, expose what's happening now, and ask the tough questions. Why should ordinary Virginians pay for political games? What's really hiding in the fine print? So now, I know some of y'all are sitting there, y'all think I'm crazy, and in your head you're saying, now, Chicken Pimp, it's just lines on a map. How bad could it be? Well, now, let me tell you, a crooked line can bend an entire election. And tonight, we're following those lines straight to the truth. So buckle up for a 3-act journey: what we won, what's threatened, and how we fight back. Y'all ready? Let's shine a light where they'd rather keep things dark. Now, I know all y'all remember back in 2020, we all lined up, rain, shine, or pandemic mask, to vote for something simple. Simple and easy. All Virginians wanted were fair maps, and we wanted those maps to be made by people who don't have a personal scorecard. That, my friends, is called independent redistricting, and it's supposed to take the crayons away from the politicians. We said yes to a bipartisan commission. We said yes to transparency. And we say yes to rules that made sure every individual vote actually counted. Now, let's think of bipartisan as having both grandma and grandpa check your math homework. Nobody slipping by unnoticed. We wanted to end the days of maps that looked like a spilled bowl of spaghetti and start a new era. And you know what? Those experts that graded them maps, they graded our maps with an A for fairness. You know, an A, as in, ain't y'all proud of yourselves? That's something, ain't it? Well, the voters came together and they said, no more games. So if you're asking, did my vote matter? Oh, baby, you better believe it did. Well, now it's 2026, and, suddenly a new amendment's winking at us from the legislature. Wonder what it wants. It wants to hand a new map drawing crayons right back to the folks who gerrymandered us into knots in the first place. This is not just redistricting. It's retrograde. If you hear closed door sessions and loose fairness rules, you're hearing political code for let us pick our voters instead of the voters picking us. Independent analysis, they gave this proposition an F. That's like failing recess, y'all. That's for, fix your attitude and come back and try again. Now, you might be thinking, why would anyone undo a system that works? Well, because power loves the dark and this amendment is a blackout. And we have politicians that are running for office that know that without cheating and twisting things into their own favor, they don't have a snowball's chance in hell of winning our state because we got more sense. Well, we're not just taking a step back, we're staring down a full on political moonwalk, y'all. Now, let's be real. Some of the loudest anti gerrymandering preachers are now singing a whole new tune. Suddenly, they say Virginia should gerrymander too. And you ready for why? Why? Because we need to get even with other states. Y'all, if hypocrisy was an Olympic sport, we would be bringing home the gold. These are the same folks who once called gerrymandering a democratic disgrace. So now we're supposed to punish ourselves because someone else misbehaves? And you're telling us that our new governor wants to punish her constituents because she's pissed off because of what other states have done? That's like slashing your own tires because your neighbor parked too close. Now, you might ask, are there any adults in the room? Apparently, they've all left for spring break already. It's time to hold up a mirror to these double standards and call it like we see it. Now, y'all, let's break down the basics. Gerrymandering isn't just drawing funny looking maps, it's a calculated tactic, like stacking the deck in poker. The technical term? Cracking and packing. Public input sessions and maps drawn by data, not dirty tricks. In technical speak, that's called algorithmic redistricting, letting computers do the drawing with fairness baked in. But here's the catch: politicians don't like giving up power. It's institutional inertia, like trying to push a stalled truck uphill in the rain at night. Now, you might say, can tech really solve politics? Well, algorithms aren't perfect, but they don't take campaign contributions either. The path's not easy, but it's the only one to guarantee maps made for people, not parties. Reform is hard because it works, and that scares the folks who profit off of the status quo. So, what have we learned tonight under this porch light? First, gerrymandering is a power grab, plain and simple. Second, independent reforms work, but only if we protect them. Third, your voice matters more than ever when the deck's being reshuffled. And here's your next move: read the fine print on every single amendment that comes in front of you that you have a say so in. Ask who's drawing your map, show up at public hearings, or even just email your delegate. That's what we call civil engagement, y'all. Think of it like voting's older cousin, much louder, much more obnoxious, and 9 times out of 10 gets things done. Now, if you're thinking, will it really make a difference? Yeah, each action pokes a hole in the blackout curtain. Now, I want y'all to realize exactly how important this is and how much of it is resting on your shoulders to make sure that your voice is actually heard. When voting comes up next month, April 21st, You need to be sure that you vote no to the redistricting amendment. That temporary amendment that Miss Spamberger is pushing so hard on, that's not for your benefit. If you look at every other campaign promise that she's made, almost every last one of them, she has gone back on. She has done exactly the opposite of what she was voted in for. Well, April 21st gives you an opportunity to make your voice heard. It gives you an opportunity to tell them politicians just exactly where they can shove it. Now, I'm going to get off here because got a kitty cat here and he's demanding some attention. He says, Mama, I'm tired of the podcast. Well, this will be Chicken Pimp signing off, and I hope you guys all have a great night. And we'll see you on the next episode where we're going to delve into some more things that you need to be aware of, need to know what's going on, and you need to see under a microscope with that porch light on. Good night, y'all. Now ask yourself, if my vote's been packed and cracked, is my voice really heard? Well, y'all, if democracy's supposed to be a chorus, gerrymandering dials the volume down on everything but the politicians. Because fair maps mean fair voices. That's why this fight matters. See, now, back in 2020, building a bipartisan commission felt like climbing a mountain in flip flops. But Virginians pushed for it, and it became law. That's what you call structural reform, changing the rules of the game itself. Now, imagine your family reunion seating chart is getting done by people who didn't care about old grudges or odd cousins. That's independent oversight, another technical term meaning no more foxes in the henhouse. For the first time, we saw transparency. There were public meetings, there was open data, there was maps that you could actually make sense out of. And you might wonder, did it make a difference? Absolutely. Turnout went up and trust slowly started to rebuild. Now, mind you, it wasn't perfect, but it was a giant step towards a fair system. So now, transparency, that's just a fancy word for nothing to hide. With our 2020 reforms, Virginians could watch the process kind of like a live cooking show. No secret sauce and no mystery meat. But this new amendment, it's like the drawing the curtains and locking the door. Closed door map drawing is a technical term for old school backroom deals. If you're picturing cigar smoke and whispered bargains, you're not too far off. You might say, aren't politicians supposed to serve us? Well, that's how it's supposed to work, but only if we keep the porch light on. Without transparency, trust is going to fly right on out that window, and democracy's not far behind. Now, have you ever heard of a fairness metric? Think of it like a bathroom scale for democracy, measuring if districts reflect how people actually vote. After 2020, Virginia's fairness score shot up. But now, with this amendment, those metrics are getting tossed out the window like last week's leftovers. An efficiency gap is another technical term. It shows how many votes get wasted in lopsided districts. A healthy system keeps that gap real small. The new plan, it blows the gap wide open. And you might ask, does that really change who wins? Absolutely, baby. It is the difference between a track meet and a three-legged race. When fairness metrics get ignored, so do real voters. Let's zoom out. When one state starts gerrymandering, others feel the ripple. Like your neighbor playing loud music at 2 a.m. That's called the domino effect. Now, some argue, Why should we play fair if others aren't? But politics isn't dodgeball, honey. You don't fix cheating by cheating back. This isn't just Virginia's problem. If we sink back into old habits, other states, yeah, well, they're going to see that as a permission card and a green light. Now, you might wonder, is it really our job to lead? Fairness doesn't spread by accident, it spreads by example. That's the contagious part of democracy. Our choices set a standard for the whole nation, whether we like it or not. Let's ask the inconvenient question: who wins when maps are drawn behind closed doors? And that answer's pretty simple: incumbents and their donors. It's a classic case of regulatory capture where people writing the rules are the ones cashing in. If you follow the campaign contributions, they paint a picture as clear as a Sunday sunrise. This isn't some abstract political science term. It's real dollars, real influence, and real voters losing their voices. And you might ask, isn't this just how politics works? Maybe, but that doesn't mean we have to accept it. Shining the porch light means tracing the power right back to the doorstep where it belongs, yours. Let's get honest. Democracy fatigue is real. Between amendments, referendums, and constant news cycles, folks get tired. It's called voter apathy, like when you hit snooze one too many times. But if we don't show up, the folks who want to redraw the map count on our silence. That's the oldest trick in the book: disenfranchisement by exhaustion. Now, you might say, does it even matter if I speak up? Well, let me tell you, the porch light only shines where you aim it. Every time we step back, someone else steps in. And they're not always thinking about your and your family's best interests. The urge to fight back isn't just noble, it is necessary for a working democracy. Now, are you curious if your district's been gerrymandered? Here's how to check: look for irregular boundaries. That's a technical term for shapes that look more like a Rorschach test than a community outline. Another clue: if your neighborhood is split for no logical reason, you're looking at community fragmentation. That's like being invited to two family picnics on the same day because someone got cute with the guest list. Pull up your district map online. Does it snake around, double back, or squeeze through odd gaps? That would be classic gerrymandering graffiti. And you might ask, can I really do anything about it? Absolutely. Awareness is step one, action is step two. If you see something fishy, say something. That's how communities claim their power back. If we're dreaming big, real redistricting reform would mean fully independent commissions.
The porch light's on.